in the pictures for them to see which person. Maybe Isaac is too dark. We don't want a dark guy. We want a fair person. We want this. So there's the party's choice. So that's why the professionalism comes in how to practice. Unlike where somebody will come to you and a mediator will write and order that person to come before them. No, it is never done. So one person, if you look at section 63, and when it comes to mediation, initiation of the process, the two of them will never agree and come to your center and say that the two of us are having an issue, so come and assist us. It will never be done. One person will definitely come to you. So when one person comes to you, what do you do as a practitioner? The act says that you can call the person on phone, you can write an email to the person, you can send a text message, or use,
to the other party.
Yes, to the other party, or use electronic means to get the other party. So I can even send you a WhatsApp message. If you agree on that message and appear before me, then the process has started. If within 14 days, if the person does not respond, then it means that the person has declined the process. So it means that you cannot force the person to appear before you. So one characteristic of an ADR practice is that it's voluntary process. Parties out of their own volition will accept and agree and participate through the process. But and the act also goes further to say, if you look at the invitation, it says that if you call somebody on phone, at least you can follow up by a letter whereby the person will see that, okay, this is what you've done, confirming the phone call. The act also further says that if you don't send a letter, that does not invalidate the process. So that is where the issues come in. So the phone call that you make, the text messages and everything is valid as if you have written a letter to that particular person. So that is how it works.
So, in all of this, my question still is, there are two total strangers involved in a dispute that obviously falls within the remit of ADR, but they are totally oblivious of practitioners such as Isaac. But both of them don't want to go to court. They don't also know any mutual persons who can mediate for them. How do they initiate the process?
All right, so when you look at the ADR Act, it was established or passed into an act in 2010, the Act 798. The act calls for the need to establish the ADR Center. Up to date, that has not been, established. So if we had actually, as a country, if you had actually established the center, just like, my seniors made mention of, you will have a list where it will be a go-to, because this is a government-sponsored, center, and it will be broadcasted for everyone to know. So if I have an issue, and just like you was explaining, I have an issue, and I want to resort to the government-sponsored one, not a private one. I go in there, and a list will be given to me. Train mediators, train arbitrators, or anyone at all that qualifies within. Then I can actually resort to, just like the process that he actually made mention of. So maybe we use this particular platform to appeal to the government that since 2010, that the act was passed, the act calls for the need to establish a center. The center will allow for everyone to know that this is where you have an issue and you don't want to go to court, resort to this. We are going to assist you, lead you through every necessary process so that you can actually get your issues, resolved. And so we are just making a passionate appeal to the government.
There's an office for coordination of ADR, national coordinator of ADR. There's an office like that. What role does it play within the ADR mix, so to speak?
They actually play a similar role, but the only thing is that how many people are aware of that? So this also calls for an advocacy, awareness creation. And the issue of ADR, when you go to the court, some of us who visit the court, you realize that there are some minor offenses or cases, and that really choke the court system. If persons know of these avenues, they would actually go to. And remember, when you are using ADR, it has a lot of benefits that one would derive from, other than going to the court when at the end of the day, you have issues of a winner and a loser. In ADR, there are compromises, you know, because you're looking at the end of the day, how to still continue to have a relationship built. You don't distract or destroy your relationship or your friendship, not because of such a minor offense or so. So I believe that there's a need for us to create awareness of the existence of these avenues.
Okay.
Yes.
Let
so,
me add something
yes.
to what he said. When it comes to the national ADL office that you were talking about,
Yes.
that is not the National ADL Center that has been established by the Act. That is the National ADL Center by the Judicial Service.
Okay.
That is the
Right.
so which is being headed by the National ADL Coordinator. So the Judicial Service since 2005 has implemented or have added ADL to their services. So the court is using ADL to remove a lot of backlog of cases that are pending at the court, which some of them can be settled within just an hour or 30 minutes. So they are using that. And they are also using what we call victim offender mediation, such as cases which are minor in nature, criminal cases which are misdemeanors. They use their ADR department to resolve such cases, and since 2005 to date, they have been resolving a lot of disputes at the court side. But the ADR system cannot help resolve all the matter at the court, because unless somebody has filed a case at the court before it can go to the ADR at the court. That is the difference. So with the private ADR center, anybody can walk in and say that I have brought a case between me and this person, so I needed somebody to help me or what. You can assist them. The National ADR Center that he was talking about, we are supposed to have a National ADR Center, which is the head office, regional offices, district offices, even up to the local levels. So like every district assembly is supposed to have an ADR center, which will have registered members or registered or qualified trained or trained ADR practitioners within every district at that particular center, so that anybody who have, whether investors or whatever, you go to that center, you can have a list of qualified mediators and arbitrators or any practitioner to assist you in resolving your dispute. But that one has not been done. And if the center is established the center is going to help us to develop standards in the practice, training standards and the practical guidelines on what practitioners are supposed to do, the do's and don'ts and other things, to make sure that the profession is well protected and people are able to use it to assess justice. Because if you look at the importance of ADL and you compare it with the court system, you will see the litigation process. You will see there's a vast difference. People will just go through the ADL process simply without a stress. But if the centers are not there, other people are starting up gradually. There are not many, but people are like some people like Ghana Arbitration Center. They've been in the system for long. Global Mediation and Arbitration Center is there. GAMI has been there. Institute for Legal Leadership Studies has been there. They are training people.
Yes.
They are private organizations, but they need the guidance from the government side, which is the National ADR Center. They are going to be the regulatory body. Like you have the National Media Commission to regulate the media practitioners. The same way, we're going to have the National ADR Center, which will regulate the practitioners in ADR.
But yes, and forgive me for belaboring this point, but I think that our viewers also need, for those who, and we believe that many are watching who will be interested in engaging the services of ADR practitioners, but also even resort to ADR in order to get disputes that necessarily shouldn't travel for years in court and so on resolved. And that's why I'm asking these questions. So you were talking about something similar to the NMC for the media, and so relative to ADR, there's a regulatory body, but at the same time, you're saying disputants can choose whoever they want to engage in the process. Whoever does not fall under the regulations of persons who have been registered as ADR practitioners. When you register, then you come under the remit of the regulatory body. But I'm just walking somewhere and they say, look, Abdul, Moomen knows about this issue. He's a man of integrity, so he can resolve this little problem Isaac has with Enoch. And then you call me, and I'm like, okay, Isaac, I think you were wrong on that part. And well, if I happen to make an intentional mistake, so to speak, there's no way this regulatory body can descend on me, after all.
Yes, definitely so. One thing that you have to also recognize is that before even litigation, how were we resolving our disputes?
We're taking them to the chief's palaces. We're taking them to our clan heads.
Yes.
The imams and the pastors were the ones.
Those people were helping us. So you cannot always, you can regulate the field. Even in the media, how many people belong to your organization?
Well, you're talking about NMC.
Yes.
NMC is not an association. It's a
Yes.
regulatory body.
Yes.
And so you don't have to belong. Once you are a media organization in Ghana,
Yes.
they have oversight responsibility.
Yes, so they can, when that office is established, they can regulate the practice of registered centers, registered practitioners. Yes, in every field, definitely you're going to have, because of the nature of the work, because we are saying that anybody, the parties are at liberty to choose whoever they want to serve as a practitioner. But those who bring out themselves and say that we are practitioners, we are professionals,
Yes.
they must be guided on how they do their work. That is why private associations like GACMA and Ghana National Association of ADR Practitioners, they have put themselves together. Although the national office is not there, but they themselves have put themselves together. And every year, Ghana National Association of ADR Practitioners that I belong to, every year we do professional mandatory workshops for our members, which this year, this coming Saturday, we are having one at Mensvik Hotel that we are training, we are building the capacity of members. Like now, there is a passage of the Singapore Convention, which was passed in 2018. Ghana signed in July 2020. It's left with the ratification, but members must be aware. So we have taken that responsibility that we're going to train our members on such areas so that they know how it works, how they can, the reciprocal relationships and other things. These are the things that we want people to understand, that yes, it's an unregulated field, but if you call yourself an ADR practitioner, then you must conform to certain standards. The parties are at liberty to choose whoever, but if you are calling yourself an ADR practitioner, you must belong to a body. You must be able to practice in line with certain guidelines. That is what we want to see.
See, again, you know, is that if you call yourself an ADR practitioner, Moomen is not an ADR practitioner. You got yourselves engaged in a dispute and you called on me. And I use my wisdom to settle the matter. I'm not an ADR practitioner. I've never registered as one. Yet there's a regulatory body. How does that apply to people like me, for example?
So what I just want to add to what he said is that let's look at it from two areas or angles. One is that you want it to be resolved, you want your issue to be resolved through the professional angle. And that is what he explained. Do you know that the Act, the ADR Act, also allows for, even when parties are putting together their contract, it allows for how they want to resolve their issue. If it is like mediation, even the institution that they think they want to select or lean on.
In case.
Yes, in case, to resolve their issue. So where the issue actually arises, then they rely on that institution. And just like he did say, it is the consensual agreement of the parties. It's very key. So you can just be working your somewhere. Then if the parties so wish that you resolve their issues for them, if it follows a certain pattern that instills trust in the process, the mediator instills trust in the process. The mediator does everything that doesn't depict anything capricious, anything partiality or whatsoever, and it actually conforms to that pattern, it is acceptable. I don't want to go into the court-connected one, but once you go into the court-connected one, that one where the judge looks at the matter and sees that the matter doesn't fall within the Section 1 of the ADR Act, will actually would want and sees that through ADR could actually help in speedy resolution of the matter. the judge will actually refer the parties to mediation. And that should be something that the parties actually accepts. If one party doesn't accept, they don't go to mediation. So where the party accepts to go to mediation, then there will be what we call stay of proceedings. The judge will not continue the matter. We'll wait for the parties to go to the mediation. And within the court setting, they have mediators that they have trained.
The lawyers say, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but is it the law is in the bosom of the judge, something like that?
Yes, even that one, when it comes to the court-referred one, it can be at the discretion of the judge, as you were saying.
Yes.
Or even the parties can request. One party can request. If the other party agree, they go for ADR.
But here it's my question then. So the judge makes this suggestion, and one party thinks, no, I still want to pursue. But will that person be bold enough to tell the judge, I will want to pursue? Because apparently it's the judge saying, go for ADR, and if you refuse, the judge is the one going to rule anyway, and so he might rule against you, and the fear of that kind of ruling can lead people to go to ADR even if they don't wish to, can't it?
So generally, those of us who actually frequent the court, just what you are just asking, it could be the case, not often the case per se, but sometimes based on the matter, the judge only appeals because we are looking at the best interest of the parties. Remember, judges do not want parties to always come to them for. They want the processes to be followed. Like if the issue could be resolved through ADR, why go to the court? And so once the judge refers, and this is not like a compulsion, the judge only refers that counsel, referring to the lawyers for the parties, counsel, this matter, will you want to try ADR? That is how mostly the judges will actually choose their words. Will you want to try ADR so that you can resolve your issues faster or speedy? Where the party, so on that score, the council, of course, on both sides, may want to actually have discussions to find out whether they want to resort to ADR. Where they want to do that, then they tell the judge then refers them to ADR. In fact, if a party doesn't want to agree, the party has that freedom and volition to tell the judge that, my lord or my ladyship or whatsoever, this matter, I prefer you handling it. The judge, that will not affect the judgment of the judge. It won't. So where you even go to, there has been a matter that I monitored, and the parties were referred to, it was a court connected. Right. So a judge informed the parties to use ADR. Once they agreed and they went. So once the process started, and you have a stage that we call ventilation, and that is where, in fact, parties are given the opportunity to actually come up with their issues. So a time is given for you to say everything, what is worrying you, what is your issue. And we call it therapeutic, because the ventilation stage actually allows the parties to say everything unrestricted, unlike the courtroom, where sometimes even the fear of the court system, you feel very timid, or you feel you are within a certain radius that it is even difficult for you to say everything, because you think if you don't say it a certain way, you may be held for contempt. Yeah. But with ADR, you go there, you meet the mediator. The mediator is very friendly. The mediator introduces him or herself to you and even tells you the benefits of mediation and tells you that relax, here is about the two of you, your interest. And remember, the mediator doesn't actually say he doesn't decide for the parties. The mediator only facilitates, guides, whatever decision that comes out of it are decisions that came out from the parties themselves. Once they agree, remember, once they agree in mediation, when the parties agree, that is when they have to even file it before the court.
Wow. Okay, so I find that you're using mediator, arbitrator, there's a third word. It will come. But are these different?
Even this, they are. When it comes to ADL, we have mechanisms. We have negotiation, mediation, arbitration, conciliation, ombudsman, and all that. So when it comes to each mechanism, the person using that process, the name, like if you are doing mediation, you are a mediator. If you are doing arbitration, you become an arbitrator. Okay. If you are doing negotiation, you become a negotiator. If you are doing conciliation, you become a conciliator. So that is what he was mentioning.
So one person can play all these roles, yes, depending on the nature.
On the nature of the dispute.
Okay. So now that is out of the way.
But before that, I think I want to say that even the court issue that you were saying, that the judge, maybe the fear of the people or the judge or something is not sometimes not actually the case. We have something that we call victim offender mediation. You know, when somebody, there is a misdemeanor, maybe there is a battery, and the person got injured small, they has been treated. But the thing is, who is going to pay for the hospital bill? If you go through the criminal trial will not take compensation for you. So sometimes they bring victim offender mediation in for the person who injured or the offender to take responsibility for their actions, so that you go through the mediation and see what you put the person through, and so that you may be able to restore the person to their former position. Before, if there is any punishment for you, it can be meted out to you. So that is how it is. So when a judge is even suggesting the ADL to you, they are even helping you. They are even helping you. So it's something that we should embrace and accept, that these are the better way of resolving our own differences.
Okay, so apart from the issue of saving time and getting issues resolved, I mean, more speedily than we've done in the past, if we all decide to use ADR in the matters that can be used, that ADR can be used to resolve, there's the issue of costs. How expensive are people like you? Tell me.
When it comes to ADL, we are saying that we don't say that it's not expensive, but we say that it is cost effective. Looking at the time maybe you spend at the court, your TNTs and other things, if you put all that together for maybe, let's say, 2 years, you could have used that money to do maybe 1 sitting, 2 sitting, without even mediator taking half of that money. So a mediator will not be able to tell you, I will take this for mediation. It only depends on the nature of the dispute. Yes, it depending on the nature of the dispute. I can't tell you I'll take 1,000 cedis for this matter, or 1 cedi for this matter, depending on the nature. Sometimes we do mediation for free. You look at the nature of the case and you do it for free. I've done several cases for free. I didn't take a peso.
And you've done several cases for a fee, and you charge killer fees as well, I'm sure.
Not all of them. You can't charge killer fee when it comes to mediation. You look at your time. If I'm going to spend like 3 hours with parties, how much should I charge? It won't be any amount. Just a small fee, but within that 3 hours, the work that we will do will be more than 3 months' work at the court. So that is how ADI is. You pay small, but the work that you do is plenty, because at that place, the parties are given the opportunity to talk. They are given the opportunity to express their opinions and other things. Because when it comes to the court, it's your judge, your lawyer, and the court that is your intermediary. But when it comes to ADL, lawyers are allowed to come, but sometimes lawyers are not allowed to talk because it is the party's own case. They are judges of their own case. The mediator will only facilitate the communication between the parties. So you are only there to facilitate the communication. Sometimes, because you are angry, somebody might have said something, but you will not recognize what the person is saying. You call it conciliatory gesture. So me as a professional would notice that and bring to the attention of the other parties, so that it can facilitate resolution. So sometimes it is not about the fee per se, but the things that will go on during the short time.
No, but telling us the fee is also important, because if we're encouraging people to come out and use ADR when they have disputes that can be resolved outside of the court, And one of the issues that we are telling them of is that it is cost effective. We must be able to compare and contrast that with the usual court system so they can make a decision.
Yes.
It's for the viewers that we sit here.
Yes. I can give you an example. Maybe if you go to certain centers, can give you a range from maybe a case of a known value of between maybe 1,000 cedis and 5,000. Maybe they will take, the practitioner will take, or the center. Sometimes the center itself, because the administrative fees of the center and the practitioner's fee are put together. So they take, and the center will pay the practitioner, unless it is an ad hoc or a sole mediator that you've gone to see and the person is helping you. So sometimes it is not even the practitioner who will tell you how much I'm taking. Sometimes you go through the center will charge everything, then the practitioners are paid.
All right.
You see that? So those are the things. So it's not something that is huge out there. If you have a case like maybe it is 100,000 Ghana cedis and the center is taking maybe a facilitation fee of maybe 5,000, then at the end of the process, the quantum or the value of the process, they take maybe 5% of the process. I think they have been fair with the parties. And one thing about ADR is that the fees, apart from the first person who initiated the process, every fee within the process are the joint responsibility of the parties. That is what makes it interesting.
Right.
Unlike the court, whereby somebody will go and take what kind of a lawyer, the fees that the lawyer will take. ADR is not like that. It is the joint responsibility of the parties. When it comes to the practitioner's fee, the center's fee, everything is a joint responsibility of the parties. So that is why I'm saying this is more cheaper, because if I'm taking, let's say, 10,000 and the two of you are sharing, it is better than you taking one lawyer and another person also taking some lawyer. Your filing fees, you pay it yourself. It's far cheaper than that.
10,000. That sounds sweet.
No, I use that one.
I'm just thinking of becoming an ADR practitioner myself.
No, the thing is, when it comes to ADR, I'm not saying ADR doesn't pay. It pays. Yes, it's good. It's a good venture that any youth that is up and coming youth. That is even where I'm looking at a situation whereby we'll have a lot of people, and our educational institution too should start doing courses like this in mediation. Somebody should be able to finish.
Because there's money in it.
Yes, not because it's money. Sometimes not even the money. There was a time I resolved a case for somebody, and I woke up one day. The person called me and said, "Thank you. The person is doing as we agreed." That is it's even fulfilling than the money that I may have gotten from the process. I even have one person that I resolved a case for her in 2015. The person, after resolving the case for her and going through the process, she said, how can I become one? She has become one now. And now the two of us are working on a project called peer mediation. We want to send peer mediation to the JSS and the SHS schools so that the up-and-coming youth, they resolve dispute among themselves. We must be able to recognize what they are doing, assist them to polish it, so that when they grow, we become part of them.
All right. on a lighter note, so at the end of the month, the GBC things have done so well. They cover, my Director General calls me and says, "Thank you so much. No salary, but we are very grateful to you." I'm just wondering if I appreciate that better than my salary. But good point. I mean, that was just...
No, sometimes if you are able to resolve a case for somebody and somebody calling you. Recently, we saw a case.
Don't worry, I do get you. I mean, certainly as a journalist, sometimes you do a story, it impacts somebody's life.
Yes.
They call and appreciate. I mean, you go to bed and it's like you save the entire world. I mean, I know that feeling. But, you work with the justice support, the justice sector support activity. Indeed, we know that the cost of hiring lawyers and going through legal processes, filing fees and all those have led some people to even stay in remand prisons for years. Others have been prevented even from going to court, even though legitimately they could have gone, but they don't have the money to do so. And I know you have been working around issues like that. But when it comes to ADR, what do you make of the fees regime?
So first of all, let me just acknowledge the contribution of the USAID on the USAID Justice Sector Support Activity, which monitors the implementation of Ghana's case tracking system. a software system that tracks criminal cases from one justice sector institution to the other. We are actually working in partnership, the Legal Resources Center, we are working in partnership with the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative, Crime Check Foundation, and also Interregional Bridge Group, IBG.
Yeah.
So with a fee structure, I think because it is not well structured, you know, and that also goes back to the issue of if we have the ADR center, probably they will actually streamline all these things. In fact, now you bear me out that the Right to Information Act is now passed into law. The issue about fee, if you want to get access to relevant information, is a challenge. You go to court, and sometimes even the court ruling may even further prevent you from wanting to seek the information because of the cost the court may actually, you know, vent on you. Good. So I believe that there's the need for us to make the services affordable to the ordinary person. If we are encouraging persons like the vulnerable to use ADR, it means that because what is actually the case where we don't want them to go to court is, among other things, the congestion and also the costs incurred in even getting the services of a lawyer. Therefore, what I can even advocate is that, in fact, in your communities, just if you have an issue and that issue, it is not any issue that actually is grievous or that actually falls, that doesn't fall within the section 1 of the Act, please use ADR, use mediation. Just get someone in your community, someone that the two of you actually trust. Let the person resolve your issues for you. If one person wants to initiate that, get someone that you think is trustworthy. Get in touch with the person. The person will then give the necessary information of the other party. The person will actually get in touch with the other party that this person has reached out to me that there's a matter that the two of you may want me to resolve, assist to resolve, or to mediate. So that the two of you, once they agree, then mediation can take place and the issue will be resolved. This is what we are actually encouraging. If you come to the Legal Resources Center, we encourage this. We also do, you know, what we are able to do on that. When it comes to on the USA Justice Sector Support activity, what we are also doing is how we can make, you know, services available, justice sector support services. So we are working with the government sector institutions that have the mandate to give legal support services, like the Legal Aid Commission. And even when you go to SHRAJ, I mean, SHRAJ also has that particular mandate to give in terms of rights violation and those things. So you encourage persons out there who think that someone is violating him or her right to actually, you know, call us. And our numbers are actually, we have actually publicized that, and I'm going to mention that again, which is 0302 766 756. 0302 766 756. So just call us, and we will look at how we're able to structure, arrange for, if you have to talk to a lawyer, we make that arrangements, and then you have a conference with the lawyer, and depend on the nature of your case. So we are working in partnership with the institutions I mentioned. Some of the cases we refer to them, some of them we work on them to ensure that we get at least a bit SHRAJ, Legal Aid Commission, you know, and even the Ghana Arbitration Center and other, even the public institutions and then the private institutions, we also work with them. So some of the cases, because the betterment of the people, we know that there are enormous cases that one would actually have, but the little that you're able to do, start somewhere. Because the thing is that some of them, when they come before you, some of the cases are so, they are not much that you can easily resolve within a certain period, like within a day. Sometimes, you know, when someone has an issue with you, sometimes the bitterness, that alone calls for, I'll go to court. But once you sit the person down, that look, it is not everything at all that you say you go to court. I mean, litigation must even end. By all means, litigation should end at a point in time.
That should be there.
And so let's use a medium in which you can still have your friend. If you are into business with a person and there's an issue that have actually crossed up, how can you actually resolve the issue so that you can still have that friendship, so that you can still continue in that particular business line? so that you can still have your family. We had an issue in which one family,
yes,
a nuclear family, and the father has taken the son to court on a parcel of land. The mother has also taken the daughter to court on another issue. The family is disintegrated, but through mediation and ADR in general, you could have the family unionized. They can come together once again and have that, so that is what we keep on encouraging.
Wow.
Okay, then from today, I'm going to work with you as well. Because, we have an NGO who deals with the same thing. So we've been using mediation to resolve most of the cases that come to the center.
And quickly, so what role does the USAID, you mentioned the Crime Check Foundation, you mentioned about 3 other
legal resources.
Yes, quickly take me through what each of these organizations does.
Okay, so the Legal Resource Center, where I work in as the rule of law specialist, what we do is we are the lead implementer
relative to
the USA Justice Sector Support activity, monitoring the implementation of the case tracking system. In terms of reforms in the justice sector, one of our responsibilities is to ensure that we don't have pieces of reforms, especially on the case tracking system. So you may be aware that Ghana now has a case tracking system. In fact, we have the e-justice system, which is being implemented at the judicial level, where every case that comes, and in fact, they have actually started with a pilot. They try to electronically input every case. So the case tracking system is at the top. So once they input, they use the e-justice system. Some of the cases that fall within the case tracking system, which primarily are criminal cases, then they will pick some of these pieces of the information onto the case tracking system. Then where the case has to be transferred from one justice sector institution to the other, then it travels through that. And then the other bit is to also do education around, anything about the justice delivery system. Then when you come to the CHRI, what they do also is to support the Legal Resources Center and then the USA Justice Sector Support activity in terms of doing public education, creating awareness, and even access to justice.
Right.
Then Crime Check Foundation, as we know, is really a crime prevention institution that use screening of documentaries to highlight the plight of the vulnerable. So they visit prisons, they assess. So the executive director of Crime Check Foundation, Mr. Ibrahim Okonkwo, has an unfettered access to the prisons because of his relationship with them. So he goes there and then he has discussions with the prisoners. He gets to know that one good thing about that is that he tries to actually highlight the challenges that prisoners and then the prison officers even face, just to create awareness of how we can improve or enhance our prison system. I think it's something that I don't want to go there. If not, if
I get it. So now I do understand. Yes,
which is the Interregional Bridge Group.
Yes,
it's actually the software institution that really put together the CTS with Kimonis. So now the CTS is there in terms of how they can actually build the capacity of the user agencies. They can give, how to give them training, how to ensure that the system functions very well. Once it's a system, it's a software system, there will be some challenges like device malfunction.
Right.
It is their duty to ensure that every necessary challenge on the usage of the CTS is actually resolved.
All right. Well, thank you so much. As we wrap up, Isaac, you are a practitioner. So what has changed since ADR was actively introduced in this country? Has anything changed? Has the justice system improved?
If we compare what has changed in respect of the court system, I would say yes, a lot of things have changed. If you go to the court and the way they are using ADR and you look at the efficacy of the ADR being implemented, I would say that a lot of things have changed, because if ADR has been with us for so long, even the Act 38, which this one, current one, repeal, which was passed in 1961. So ADR has been with us for so long, and the court have been using it. And now, even our institutions, such as National Labour Commission, they use ADR. So if you are a worker and you have any labor-related issues, when you go to National Labour Commission, they can use ADR to assist you. when you go to other institutions such as DOSU. DOSU, if you look at Section 24 of the DOSU, Domestic Violence and Victim Support Act, it talks about the usage of ADL. But the gap has been that those who are using it, are they well equipped with the necessary capacity to handle such cases? That is where the training gap. So there is a need to do more capacity building training for such institutions who are using the ADL. And there are NGOs who are also doing well, such as Center for Citizens Empowerment. They are doing well. There are other NGOs and private ADR centers. Now, because of the Act has opened the center, the practice as well. So an individual like me, I can establish my center. So the same way, a different individual can establish their own ADR center. So if you see any ADR center within your jurisdiction, within your area, just pass there, go and talk to them about what they do and what they are able to offer to you. If you don't understand anything, just get in touch with other institutions and find out. If you get in touch with me, you can find out certain things about what is happening, whether they are. And one thing that we must also understand, that an ADR practitioner must not compel anybody to come before them. They don't have the right to do so. It must be the party's own volition to appear before you. So they don't have right to compel anybody.
Okay, so compel. Let's get it right. So
they are not caught. Let me say that. So when they
I'm an ADR practitioner. Yes. I see you are in dispute.
Yeah.
And I suspect you're about to go to court. And I come and say, look, there's something called ADR. We can actually use that to get your issue resolved.
Yes.
I'm introducing myself to you. Is that compelling you?
No, that is not. Even ADR can be mandatory. When the parties, as you mentioned earlier, when the parties has put in their contractual agreement and saying that in the event of any dispute arising out of this contract, use
but
ADR.
what do you mean by compelling?
But there are instances whereby some people who call them an ADR practitioners or a mediator somewhere will write to the party and say that this person has reported a matter to you, so you are required to appear before me. They don't have that right.
All right.
You can encourage them to use your services, but you cannot compel them that come before me. If you don't come, there are sanctions and those things. You cannot do that.
So when ADR is used to resolve issues, what's the term I'm looking for? How does it become embedded in law? I mean, in legal terms, they tell you this has been recorded and it's final. But this is not the court.
Yes. So let me
very quickly. We have 2 minutes more.
Let me come in with that. When you are using mediation, we call it terms of settlement. That is what the parties have actually agreed upon. Then when you are using arbitration, we call it an award. An award given.
The arbitral award.
Yeah, the arbitral award. So if you want it to be enforced, but if the parties themselves have agreed, like the mediation terms of settlement, that we'll do A, B, C, D, and they do it, it ends there. It doesn't go back to the court again. It doesn't go anywhere. But in the event that one party does not perform their part of the agreement, then one party has the right to go to court for enforcement. And when you go to the court, it's not like the normal court proceedings that it will travel for so long. It can be one sitting or two. A judge will just adopt that terms of settlement as consent judgment, and you can enforce same as court judgment. That is how ADR works. So ADR, that is why sometimes we encourage people that even if you want to go to court and still use it, use ADR to do the preliminary things, get your terms of settlement, then you can use the court to enforce the outcome. So ADR makes the process faster and simple so that you don't go through any stress. So that is why we are encouraging people. If you see any ADR center within your area, your jurisdiction, get in touch with them. They will be able to assist you.
All right. This is a very educative program. Great discussion by the young men. Samuel Tete Koboy, thank you very much for that message. And then over here, Samuel Issa says, good evening to you, Moomen, and your... Sorry, I just lost that. Good evening to you, Moomen, and your guest. I am grateful for this program. One of your guests did mention a number that we can call if we need legal help. Can he repeat that number? Okay, so that was you, Enoch. Very quickly before we
So the number is 0302 766 756.
And let's be specific. So when they need what kind of help?
So in terms of legal services, so you call. Then there's an officer who will actually pick the call.
Okay.
Then assess the situation where they have to get to, I mean, a lawyer, they can actually arrange.
So for people who cannot afford to get lawyers for themselves, this is the number they should call.
Yes.
Okay. So it's 03. I think that's a very important number, and subsequently we need to put that on the screens for our viewers to see. 0302 766 756.
Yes.
That's the number. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We've had a very, very interesting discussion. I am grateful for your presence. I've been speaking with Isaac Asari, ADR practitioner and programs coordinator at IPLS. IPLS is the
Institute of Paralegal Leadership Studies.
Okay, thanks very much. Enoch Jengre, rule of law specialist at the Justice Sector Support Activity, and he has been here on previous occasions, and we are grateful to you, Enoch, as well. This is it. We'll be back here again with another edition of the show tomorrow. Until then, you have a very good night. Bye-bye. The voices that matter speak. They speak to GBC. They speak